viewers, and thanks for having us.
Well, clearly, it's this has been a problem for a very, very long time, and we've seen in South Africa for a long time now many people coming into South Africa, and obviously a lot in hope of a better future, but more importantly, in terms of gaining South African citizenship as well. And one of the easiest way out is to get married to a South African citizen. Now, as a result, clearly, a lot of fraud is taking place, fake marriages, fraudulent marriages, as a result of trying to get papers or, or perhaps even a South African ID. Just how serious is this problem, Mosa? I think Mosa has frozen for some reason or the other. We're going to see if we can't try and get hold of Mosa. Oh, there we go. Sorry, Musa. I think you did freeze for a little while. If you can continue, please.
Yeah, I think you've properly characterized the challenges that I have been exposed to this date. If you take back, there were issues of as you've indicated, that people cross into our country illegally without proper documentation. And when they enter into the country, they create means to establish their status. And some, they also commit on fraudulent activities. You know that we have established the Border Management Authority by that time as a result of the concerns of all South Africans, and that the Border Management Act has been approved by Parliament and established the entity, which is doing a great job in terms of making sure that it kept the illegal means within our borderline. Secondly, is that the more exposure of the fraudulent documents or fraudulent documents which are used for marriage have been exposed. And I think we must give credit to the anti-corruption unit within the Department of Home Affairs. So this is a measure, a front of progress that we have identified and observed for a period of time. And I think there's a turnaround in terms of the issues that we were dealing with. Thirdly, is that we call all South Africans, and we've been making this call both as members of Parliament or public representatives and also the Department of Home Affairs, to make sure that if there's any sign of activity that we identify as a fraudulent process that is engaged, whether with the South African and the official of Department of Home Affairs, it will be a responsibility of an individual himself or herself to make sure that we alert the law enforcement agency.
Musa, just looking at it from a legislative perspective, now clearly, obviously we've got the Department of Home Affairs, but we're also guided by legislation, legislation that governs marriage law, that would govern citizenship law as well. And in terms of applying a legislation to try and overcome this problem, now I know that there is a Home Affairs white paper that is dealing with fraud to try and straighten up things in the country. And just to understand from my Home Affairs perspective, in terms of identifying fraudulent or fake marriages as well, and in terms of checks and balances that are in place to identify, these marriages that are taking place and doing something about it.
Well, you're correct that we are waiting for the white paper consultation to be concluded at the level of the executive and the bill to be developed and be tabled to Parliament. It's at that time that we'll have to interact with that process of the white paper. You will know that, for example, that in the sixth administration, there was an issue of undocumented on the selling of unauthorized permits. And we did engage with the minister then and his colleagues to establish a task team to look overall on the issues within the internal system and that team was led by Dr. Lubisi. As a result of that point, there was an establishment, an appointment of the multidisciplinary team to look on the system flaws of the department and establish mechanism that must be able to assist the department and to mitigate these other these issues. You know that currently the executive they are engaged in terms of modernizing the system of Home Affairs to move away from manual application, though it will take time and it will need resources. But it's a good route that has been taken in making sure that it mitigate, but also it minimize the exchange of undocumented MERES certificate, because it causes harm to individuals, particularly those that are being married, our sisters within our jurisdiction, which we've been exposed to when we're dealing with the public hearing. Members of society will come before the committee and express how they've been engaged on this marriage unaware. If you go to Home Affairs, you want your document, you find that you are married unaware. So these are the mechanisms that have been established by the department, and the tightened system will able to assist us to resolve many issues. But the collaboration between ourselves and the media community, yourself and the community members, it will assist so that we work to fight against these syndicates that are contributing to this scourge of fraudulent marriages.
Well, interesting that you speak about a syndicate, because there does appear to be a lot more sinister when we are talking about a syndicate, because it is clear that people are obviously profiteering and exploiting the situation and the system as it stands. And when you're talking about modernization, we are in the age of AI, and I'm sure a lot can become overcome as a result of technology. Biometrics, all of those type of things obviously would have would contribute to resolving a lot of the problems that Home Affairs obviously is facing at this point in time. But also in terms of what we've seen of late, and we've seen a lot doing social media rounds with regard to certain political parties and also certain organizations that actually would raid places where these fake marriages have taken place, the exploitation that goes on. And in many instances, it is the women who are getting married to these foreigners, or these fake marriages that are taking place with foreigners that are being exploited for a minimal sum. There are many times when they are not even being paid, as being the registered wife, for want of a better term, of these marriages. So clearly, there are a whole host of issues that one actually needs to deal with.
Correct. That is exactly our point, that we have engaged with the department around this subject matter. And as I've said, that the law enforcement agency and also the anti-corruption unit within the department grounded their focus in relation to the internal system, so that it is strengthened to avert the areas of corruption that we are raising. You will note that in the previous period or years, let's take the past 2 years or so, there have been exposure of a grouping of individuals who have utilized the system of Home Affairs in order to produce IDs, to produce fraudulent marriages, and they've been exposed and arrested. And continuously, day by day, we see movement of such ill activities being exposed. And this is a demonstration of work on the ground, and also the resources that has been placed on the ground to make sure that we collaborate with stakeholders, collaborate with NGOs, various political parties which are in parliament or provincial legislatures, even those that are not in the spheres of government, to make sure that we continuously make sure that we work against these ill activities that has been exposed. just for to affirm your statement in terms of exchange of money, payment. By yesterday, when we're engaging in a public consultation on another subject, the member of the community did raise to us, look, this area, this subject of fraudulent marriage is here in this area. It's because of the exchange of money. They pay you in order to confirm that you can get married. Every month they give you money, but it's because of circumstances of the environment people find themselves in. But we caution that that must not happen. It's good that, and after that has been dealt, the person ran away. You are left with the difficulties of making sure that you go to Home Affairs, want to correct the status of your marriage, correct the status of surnames of kids. It becomes a long process. But the person who has influenced you to take that decision, to mobilize you on that correct activities, is no longer there. He moved to another area. So these are the systems that, and I'm happy that the Department of Home Affairs has more shifted focus around in that area. It's all our call to make sure that this conversation are able to assist us to create awareness to all South Africans.
Mosa, obviously, this is a practice that has been taking on for a very, very long time, and it's been going on for many years. And as far as this white paper is concerned, and looking at some of the actions that would possibly be proposed in this white paper to remedy the situation and to remedy what has happened in the past, I'm not too sure at this point in time, and perhaps you can guide me as well in terms of how huge a problem would that be to remedy and to rectify these practices of fake or fraudulent marriages that have been taken in the past. And I'm sure there must be thousands and thousands of these cases.
Well, let's take a similar example. South Africans at a particular point, they raise the issues of porous borders, and they needed both the executive and parliament to look on this challenge, on how they can respond to this question of porous borders. An initiative was a conversation of all South Africans that there must be a way to tighten our system. And as a result, that a bill or a legislation was initiated and approved by Parliament with the objective to establish the Border Management Authority. From that point to date, there's no doubt that the Border Management Authority has been doing an exceptionally good job with limited resources. And we're not taking away that we still have porous borders. But if you took the statistics in terms of the work that has been doing in all our borders, the interventions that have been implemented in place are able to respond to the issues that were raised. I'm trying to say that it took time for that process to establish, because of the commitment of both the executive and parliament in making sure that we strengthen our system. You'll notice towards the end of this year, there will be an announcement of the re-establishment or redevelopment of the ports of entry in the 6 ports of entry throughout our jurisdiction, in order to continue to respond to that question of porous borders, which means therefore that part of the refugee centers within our country, which are 5 or so, they will then be relocated to the stream of the borderline. I'm giving this example in order to come back to the issue that a process ought to take longer, but at least there's a commitment to respond to that matter. You'll notice that there's a decision that was taken by the executive in a 6th administration to review all the migration landscape, and as a result, the white paper has been engaged on, and at the point that is becoming to the parliament, we'll able to have an authority in terms of the details around the white paper. But that is an initiative of all South Africans, that we are concerned about the status of the environment of those that are coming into our country, utilizing the system, some of them utilizing the system outside the framework of the migration landscape and the constitution, as you're saying, fraudulent activities. because this review of the migration landscape and the initiative of the Border Management Authority and one-stop border post is also safeguard our country, but also to promote economic activities to make sure that our citizens are protected. But we are confident that collaborations in terms of making sure that this cap of fraudulent marriage certificate, the Department of Home Affairs, and the law enforcement agency within the system are working hard to cap it. It may not be broadly an exaggerated matter that it's a matter that there's no commitment on the part of the department or the law enforcement agency to cap that. We ought to allow the collaboration within the department, and those of us who are presiding or conducting oversight at the department, we do accept that there's a sketch of fraudulent marriages, but I think there's an intention of the department to make sure that we tighten the system and with the legislation that will bring before South Africans.
And just finally, Mosa, given the seriousness and the urgency of the situation, what sort of time frame are we looking at?
We have said to the department that it will be important that they fast track the white paper in terms of the consultation. And I'm happy that they've concluded the consultation last week. Once they've done that, Cabinet may need to process in terms of the internal process to approve the white paper, develop the bill, and the bill be tabled before Parliament. Once that bill be tabled before Parliament, we as the Portfolio Committee will then engage with members of the public throughout that this is a bill that has been proposed, these are the issues that South Africans are raising, and we are calling you again to make sure that you contribute to enhance this bill, so that at the point that the committee then begin to converse amongst themselves with the objective to put a report to Parliament for purpose of legislation, at least sufficient inputs has been resourced from members of the public and also stakeholders, including yourself as the media community, because you form part of the critical stakeholder to make sure that we continue to create awareness, but also the legislation that we take as Parliament, members of the public are informed and they participate. And I think that once that process has been done, we have said by end of this year, at least the bill should have been presented before Parliament, and hope that a Cabinet will make sure that they take note of the issues that they were raising as the committee.
Well, Mosa Chabane, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee of Home Affairs, we thank you. We do appreciate you taking time out with us on Salam Media this morning. All the best to you.
Thanks very much, and we appreciate for inviting us on this important subject. Thank you very much.
An absolute pleasure. Well, that's to kick off this morning, just taking a look at a problem in South Africa with regard to fraudulent marriages. And with that, we're going to go for a break. We come back, we go across West Africa looking at the massacre in Kwara.